The Olympics is one of those rare times every few years for a few weeks where you can tune out all of the political craziness and so many black people complaining about so many different things and just focus on good old-fashioned competition and sports on a global scale. Unless you're one of those disgruntled, hyphenated Americans, we all know who they are. But now there's a guide for them so that they can tune in and root for everybody black at the 2026 Winter Olympics. The Olympics are in high gear in Italy, and a small contingent of black athletes are competing on behalf of Team USA. The Winter Games are a space where representation of black American athletes has been far less than in summer sports. Several of this year's competitors are Olympic veterans, while others will make their debut on sports' biggest stage in 2026. I guess we should have known that we couldn't have a Winter Olympic event without certain people complaining that there just aren't enough black people there. And while you might write this off as some fringe black website, capital B news, it was mirrored on Yahoo Sports, which now bears the same headline, "Your guide to rooting for everybody black at the 2026 Winter Olympics." And as this guide pointed out, there is an underrepresentation of black athletes in Winter Olympics. Of course, nobody is complaining about there being too many black athletes in the Summer Olympics in events like track and field. Probably because black people, coming from Africa, maybe they just don't like cold weather. So they're not interested in winter sports. But too many white people enjoying winter sports has been a problem for the diversity police for many years now. This from the BBC.
Cortina may be one of only a handful of places to host the Alpine World Championships, but it's similar to every resort in Europe and across North America in one respect. The fact that almost everyone in these beautiful places is white.
That's great. I'm sure you can leave your equipment laying out without having to worry about somebody coming along and stealing it or committing other crimes. Stay tuned because there's plenty more to come in this video. But real quick, subscribe to my channel if you're new here because, as you can probably tell, you're not going to find politically incorrect and honest commentary like this anywhere else. Would you like to complain about how there's too many white people on the slopes there, Mr. Brown Man?
I'm mixed race. I don't see very many people like me skiing or snowboarding. What's stopping the majority of people from the black, Asian and minority ethnic communities from feeling as though they belong in this landscape?
Imagine you're up in the mountains on a beautiful ski trip, all bundled up, and with their goggles on and everything, and nobody can really identify anybody. Everyone's there just for the view and for the excitement of racing down the slopes. But if you're this guy, you don't feel fully comfortable there because you just have this fear that there aren't enough brown people around. This rooting for everybody black guide at the Olympics reminds me of this actress who was asked on the red carpet at the Emmys years ago who she was rooting for, which is a common question all of the celebrity gods are asked. And instead of mentioning a favorite show or favorite actor or actress who she wants to win, this was her answer.
At least, who are you rooting for tonight?
I'm rooting for everybody black. I am. Betting on black tonight.
Lovely.
Lovely, she says, not divisive or racist. It's fantastic that she's a black supremacist because we all know that every non-white racial and ethnic group is not just allowed, but encouraged, expected to display and exhibit in-group favoritism. We're the only ones who are demanded rather, to accept and celebrate a multicultural mishmash in our lives, in our neighborhoods, in our schools. Her black supremacist comments did make headlines at the time, but not from the liberal media industrial complex denouncing her or expressing their outrage. They're very glad that she was so brave to support her fellow black people. And then 5 years later, she was asked this question.
Now, fabulously and iconically 5 years ago here at the Emmys, you...
Of course, got to have the Transformer there as the host on the red carpet, always featured and celebrated in Hollywood's productions.
told us that you were rooting for everybody black. Tonight is...
You told us you were rooting for everybody black.
Ray, who are you rooting for?
Everybody black, nothing has changed.
Still, anti-white, still has that big chip on her shoulder about white people, even though she and all African Americans should actually be thankful for slavery, because if their ancestors weren't enslaved and brought here, then there is an overwhelming chance that they would have been born in a grass hut over in Africa, not owning any shoes, not having any running water, not having any screens in their windows, being pestered by flies every day. And in a pathetic attempt to try to compensate for the lack of diversity on Team USA at the Olympics, NBC decided to employ Snoop Dogg, a pimp, basically, a demonic dirtbag whose entire career has been celebrating drugs, crime, pimping, just all sorts of degenerate behavior. So, of course, he is featured on what is supposed to be a family-friendly show, trying to sanitize his, Satanism.
Thanks, Terry, Mary, and Sean. As you can see, it's going down in Cortina. We got the beautiful people out here, the weather, the good food, high fashion. I mean, I'm having a blast. And this spot right here, this is where all the athletes will be walking.
Can we start shaming people who speak with a black accent in America? We're over a quarter way into the 21st century. How is it that people are still talking like this? And speaking of race, regarding the Olympics, which in a sane society wouldn't even be an issue, we have people like this, the California-born Eileen Gu, who was born and raised in America, but her mother is Chinese, and so she has decided for the second Olympics in a row now to compete on behalf of China. She is on Team China. And of course, that means she doesn't need sponsors because the Chinese government is sponsoring her, a traitor to America who should have her citizenship revoked. This from the Wall Street Journal, the hidden government funding of China's American-born Olympic star. This story also shows how many non-white people will often put their race above our country. Whereas if white people put their race above everything else, then of course we're called a Nazi and a racist. But it's totally normal for non-white people to do it. And I know Asians are kind of, white adjacent, but you know what I mean. And instead of being, expelled from the country for being a traitor, she is allowed to compete in the Olympics and then return to our country. And you may have heard there are other traitors on Team America who, during press conferences, have been asked about the ICE immigration raids in America and have been denouncing the Trump administration and trash-talking our country on a global scale, like Gus Kennyworth, who posted this obvious photoshopped image, duping many morons who think that he peed in the snow, F ICE, and then did a video complaining that he was getting a lot of hate messages about it. Here's Team USA member Chris Lillis, who also should have his citizenship revoked.
I feel heartbroken about what's happened in the United States when, I'm pretty...
When ICE is rounding up criminal illegal aliens, we need to make that distinction. Not just illegal aliens. These are ones who have been arrested or convicted of crimes either here in America or are wanted for crimes in their home country. So when the media spins it and says, oh, there's some of these, illegal aliens that have been detained haven't even been arrested for violent crimes in America. They said, there's no warrants out for their arrest for any kind of violent crimes in America. That's why, giving half the truth is usually a lie that has duped about half the country. Aside from the governors, the Democrat members of Congress, they know what is actually happening. They are obviously just lying to the useful idiots, which unfortunately number in the tens of millions in this country.
Sure, you're referencing ICE and some of the protests and things like that. I think that as a country, we need to focus on respecting everybody's rights.
Illegal aliens don't have rights. They have no right to be here. They have human rights to their step foot on American soil, but they don't have the right to be here. Okay, none of them.
Yeah, it's been a hard time for...
This is Amber Glenn.
...for the community overall under this administration. It isn't the first time that we've had to come together as a community and try and fight for
criminal and illegal aliens, for child molesters and rapists. That's who these people support.
Definitely a tough time in our country.
Definitely a tough time in our country right now, says Svi Irving. How is it that these people are allowed to compete for Team America when they go on the world stage to represent us and then start trash talking our country? Comedian Kevin James is in a league of his own, or I guess really a small league of Hollywood celebrities who don't talk politics. And that means one of two things: that they are a conservative, which some people obviously jump to the conclusion of, or they are a Trump supporter. That's not always the case. It also is often the case that they're just smart business people. They very well may be just as leftist as all of their other Hollywood libtards, but they're smart enough to know that they don't want to talk about it publicly because it tarnishes their brand. It hurts the product. And so now the King of Queens star, I guess he has a new stand-up special or something out. And so he was asked about, how come there's no politics in your stand-up special? And he said something to the effect of, it's just not his thing. And there are other people out there who are more informed about issues than him. And he said he doesn't feel like he needs to be talking about them. But he may start talking about him because he's being smeared as a Trump supporter by garbage websites like BuzzFeed, which is somehow still in business. The internet thinks Kevin James' viral quote just confirmed how to spot a Trumper. Of course, many people on the right think that he is, but I just gave you the reasons why that may not always be the case. But it will be interesting to see if he will get shamed into being now getting political. You know, they did that to Taylor Swift, remember? Many years not being political at all. And then all of a sudden jumping on the bandwagon after they called her Nazi Barbie and started attacking her for not being political. If you enjoy watching my reports, then support my work by buying me a coffee by clicking the link in the description below. It's just a way for you to tip your favorite content creator, kind of figuratively by buying them a coffee. It's way better than leaving a super chat or a super thanks because YouTube takes 30% right off the top. So just click the link in the description below, head on over there and check it out.